In this video, I'm going to share some tips and tricks for the Battlefield 6 beta, how to get into it, and things that I wish I'd known before I started playing Battlefield 6. People who have used a beta code or people that signed up for Battlefield Labs before July 31st will be able to start playing the beta from 9 AM BST tomorrow. That's Thursday the 7th of August. If you don't have a code, then you'll be able to start playing from Saturday morning at 9 AM BST. If you're still looking for a beta code, I am going to give away 5 in this video. They're going to be spaced out throughout it, so if you see one, try to redeem it at ea.com/redeem, and if it works for you, please leave a comment below saying which one you took. But whether you're going to be doing early access or not, you can actually start up the beta app now. If you're on console, it's as simple as downloading the open beta. Just search for Battlefield 6 open beta on a store, download it, start it up. If you're on PC, it might be a little bit trickier. You can download the open beta from the EA app or from Steam. If you're on the EA app and you want to check whether you've got early access, by the way, you can go to Manage Game and you'll see the early access there if you've got it. Sadly, there's no way to do that on Steam. Now on PC, when you try to start up the app, and you can do this now if you've downloaded it, some people will be able to get straight to the main menu and it will just let you press space and then kick you into a server queue like it will on console. If that happens, you're good to go. You'll be able to play as soon as it goes live. Some people might get this error message, and that means you do not have Secure Boot set up on your PC. Secure Boot is a special sort of system that's built into more modern motherboards. If you're running Windows 11 on your PC, your motherboard is definitely capable of it, unless you did something weird to get around it when you were setting up Windows, but you'll already know. Even if you're on Windows 10, you might have it as well. Setting it up is not super straightforward. Don't just follow some Battlefield YouTuber's guide on how to set it up. Instead, Google your specific motherboard make and then how to enable Secure Boot and follow the steps very carefully. You need to go into the BIOS to do it. Messing around the BIOS can cause lots of problems. I actually updated my BIOS today and messed up a bit of it and bricked my PC for like half an hour. It was very, very scary. So be very, very careful when you're enabling Secure Boot. You do have to have Secure Boot enabled in order to play Battlefield 6. This is a part of their anti-cheat software. It's an absolute requirement. Hopefully it leads to less cheating, but I know this will be a bit of an obstacle for some people, particularly if you're on an older PC. If your motherboard is not capable of Secure Boot, unfortunately you won't be able to play Battlefield 6 on that PC. But once you get Secure Boot set up, or maybe you already had it set up, mine was on by default on my motherboard, or if you're on console, you should be able to load up the game, and right now you'll get a server queue. When I just joined earlier before making this video, the server queue started at about 24,000 people, even though the beta hasn't started yet, which is absolutely wild. By the way, before I get to the comments about the way I pronounce beta, in English, the correct way to say beta is beta. I know in America and some other countries you say beta. Fair enough, we all say things differently. You know what I mean. Anyway, if you do manage to get through to the server queue, you might actually be able to get to the settings menu early. If not, you're going to have to mess around with the settings when the game goes live. Unlike a lot of YouTubers who have done settings guides, I'm not going to recommend you change all that much at all, especially to do with the controls. I would strongly suggest that you just play the game, see how it feels, and then change things if you think there's something wrong. Copying someone else's settings only makes sense if you've got the same peripherals as them, the same PC as them, the same monitor as them, the same amount of desk space as them, you sit the same distance away from your monitor, and you have the same arms and hands as them. If all of that's true, then by all means copy their settings. If not, maybe just try out the default settings and then see where you want to go from there. There is a small handful of settings I would maybe recommend changing. In terms of the controls, the only thing that I found a little bit weird was that push to talk is by default bound to caps lock. Some people definitely do use that, and that's absolutely fine, but I know a lot of people use caps lock to access the map instead, so make sure you rebind caps lock if you want to. In terms of other settings, I really like the War Tapes audio mix. That just means everything's a bit more boomy, a bit more intense. It's not as good for competitive purposes. You're not going to hear footsteps and things like that as well, but I think it's a lot more immersive, and that's what I care about in Battlefield. There's actually a new War Tape setting for Battlefield 6 that's even more extreme. I haven't tried it yet, but I definitely will be trying it on stream. For your graphics settings, I think this game is pretty well optimized. I've seen it running on a base PlayStation 5 and it looked absolutely fantastic and was running at a steady 60 frames a second. I think you should be fine if you can play Battlefield 2042 or if you've played Warzone. If you've got a computer that's capable of running those games at a decent frame rate, I think you should be absolutely fine with this. As per usual, there are things like DLSS, which even though I have a 5090, I run at 1440p, 120 frames a second, and I still put DLSS on quality because with the transformer model, it looks absolutely fantastic and it just means your GPU is doing a little bit less work. So maybe a few less hitches, maybe a little bit less power used. I personally think it's a good idea, but obviously up to you. Now, that's enough settings talk, let's get on with the game. The first thing that you probably want to do before you jump into a game is set up your loadouts. The main thing that you might need to change with this is that every weapon, at least at the reveal event, and I'm assuming this will be true for the beta as well, every weapon by default only has 50 out of 100 attachment points. So, the way this works, the way the loadout system works in Battlefield, every weapon can use up to 100 attachment points, and every attachment has a different cost. So some things that have a minor effect might just be 10 attachment points, some things that have a bigger effect might be 30 attachment points. When you pick a weapon that you want to use, you're going to want to head into it and just make sure you add more attachments to use up all of those points. There's really no reason not to use 100 attachment points. In my experience of looking around at guns, most guns didn't have a foregrip attached, so that's something that you can easily put on. Lots of them didn't have muzzle attachments, so a suppressor if you don't want to show up on a minimap when you fire, or a compensator if you want to control recoil a little bit more. If you're running a sniper rifle, there's a really good setting just near the scope. There's another thing next to the scope that lets you put a special coating on it, which will reduce the sort of glint that enemies see when you're looking at them. Lots of people have noticed how incredibly distracting that glint is, so make sure you put that on so you don't hurt your enemy's eyes. And, you know, so they can't see you. As you're playing, this is a beta, I strongly suggest you try all of the different classes, all of the different weapons. They're all really good, and they might not work the exact same way that you expect from playing previous Battlefield games. If you are playing on a map where there's no vehicles, so you're playing Domination for example, then probably don't bother with the Engineer. It seems like the Engineer really is only good as anti-vehicle, but all of the other classes can be very useful. One thing you might not notice about the classes is that they all have signature abilities. So they all have special abilities that you unlock as you play that class within a game. So you kind of need to re-earn them as you're playing. And they start off with a set of passives that will just make you better at their role. And then eventually you'll get a new ability that if you're playing on keyboard or mouse, you press 6 to activate. And these are things like Recon have a UAV they can throw up, and you can shoot the UAVs down, by the way. But obviously that's super useful. The support class can turn into sort of like a walking medical and ammo bag. So everybody near you, all your teammates near you, will get ammo and health from you just by standing near you without you needing to throw anything down. The Engineer will be able to get a special tool that will repair vehicles super quickly, and Assault get a special kind of stim that apparently sort of accents or highlights audio from enemies. I think it's meant to give you a visual representation of audio near you, sort of tell you if enemies are nearby. I didn't manage to see it working in the reveal event, but maybe someone in the comments can let me know exactly what that looks like and what it does in game. All of these abilities are on a cooldown, so there's not really any reason not to use them. Just hit them as soon as they come off cooldown. Now, for some tips of things that I worked out while I was playing, but I wish I'd known when I started. First of all, when you're flying jets, you're going to have two special things that look like missiles. Neither of these are anti-air, they're both air-to-ground. So one of them is an air-to-ground dumb bomb that doesn't lock on. I mean dumb, as in it's not going to lock on, it's not guided or anything like that. Instead, there's a reticle, but this is very easy to miss. If you're in third-person view, you can see it as a circle underneath your plane. That's by far the easiest way to use this. That's where it's going to explode when you drop it, and it does take a while to do that, so make sure you lead a moving vehicle, for example. And then if you're in first person view, you can use the right mouse or left trigger on a controller to get into a special aiming view, but this is quite disorienting because it will often be pointing straight ahead and you need to kind of look down and find the reticle. I think it's just easier to use a dumb bomb when you're in third person. Then the other thing is an air-to-ground missile. This is something that will lock on to tanks and jeeps and stuff like that. It doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but while you're waiting for your bombs to recharge, you might as well use it. Like, why not? I managed to get a few kills. I think I killed Gargod in a tank with it, so that was pretty cool. Do bear in mind with that one, it will lock on to empty vehicles. They'll have a white reticle. You can even lock on to like vehicles at your base, which is obviously pointless. You don't want to destroy your teammates' vehicles. So just make sure you're locking on to red highlighted enemies. If you're flying a helicopter, you can repair it by going back to your base and hovering or landing at the vehicle repair station. This will be a bit trickier with a jet because you're so fast, but the jets will repair by themselves over time as well. If you get locked onto as a jet with an anti-air missile, just fire your flares when the missile's coming. Don't do it as soon as the lock-on comes. Wait till it says incoming missile. And then just fly off the edge of the map for a little bit. Just fly around the very edge of the map, maybe near where your base spawns, until you get your flares back, and then you'll be able to be pretty safe. You get the flares back very fast in this. If you want to help out your buddies that are flying the jets and the helicopters, as infantry, make sure you spot everything you can, particularly enemy vehicles, but also infantry. Even if they're at a range where you can't engage them, just make sure you keep spotting, because then people who are in jets, people who are in helicopters, will spot those targets and be able to go in and take them out. This is super, super useful, and it's good advice in all Battlefield games, basically. But in this especially, if you're playing on that valley map, just make sure you're constantly remembering to spot any enemies, even if you're not going to shoot at them. If you're playing as support, you actually have two ways to revive people. You've got the normal one. If you hold interact on someone who's downed, you'll drag them and inject them like you would if you weren't support and you were just reviving a squad mate. If you're playing as support though, it's much, much faster. It's really quick, so that's really good. But you can also get out your defibrillators, which is one of your gadgets, and then you can charge them up and res people basically instantly. So this is super useful if there's a bunch of people you want to resurrect quickly. Obviously, make sure the coast is clear before you do that. Don't just be one of those people that resurrects people into incoming fire or while there's enemies still standing over them. Speaking of revives, do make sure you do it. Go around, revive people, revive your squad mates even if you're not support. If you are support, revive as many people as you can. It's always annoying in Battlefield when medics or squad mates don't revive you. So be nice, try to keep reviving everyone when you can, when it's safest to do so. Don't be one of those idiots that don't bother. If you're playing one of the objective modes where you need to go and try and capture an objective, don't underestimate the importance of smoke grenades. I didn't find them as powerful as they are in some of the other Battlefield games. They don't cover up things quite as much, although that might have been tweaked for the beta. But smoke grenades are still a super useful way of just covering your advance, or even something that you can throw at the enemies so they can't see anything and you can move around at will. Pushing onto objectives in Breakthrough especially, smoke grenades are super important, so don't ignore them just because you want to use explosives. And finally, on that point, play the objective. The game works best when people are working together, and that's what the objectives are for, to encourage you to cooperate. So think about what you're doing in a game and whether it's helping the team out or not. Sniping can be great if you're protecting a point or you're counter-sniping defenders. It's not so useful if you're just on a random hillside shooting other enemies that are randomly wandering around. Being an engineer can be super useful, and while shooting down jets and helicopters and stuff like that is a lot of fun, a lot of the time it's better to focus your efforts on whatever is the biggest threat to your team, which will often be tanks that are pushing objectives or sitting on them capturing them. Make sure you focus your fire on something that is going to help your team, rather than just trying to get a couple of easy kills against a jet pilot who's probably just going to crash on their own anyway. So that's everything I wish I'd known before I got into Battlefield 6. If you still didn't manage to get a beta code from this video, you can watch my stream from 9 AM BST tomorrow. If you watch it on Twitch, you'll be able to get a drop. I think you just have to watch for 30 minutes and you'll get your own beta code. So that'll be a super easy way to get it. You can already download the beta right now and then just get a code from the Twitch drops and you'll be able to start playing straight away. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow for Battlefield 6. Goodbye!